The Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. You ever play a game that just feels like a warm hug for your eyeballs? That's Kena, Bridge of Spirits. It's stunning, emotional, and way better than it has any right to be considering it's Ember Labs' first game. But don't be fooled by the cute Pixar-style visuals. This one packs a serious punch, both emotionally and gameplay-wise. You play as Kenna, a young spirit guide with a magic staff and the ability to help restless souls move on. The catch? Some spirits don't want to go quietly and they turn into vengeful, corrupted monsters. Your job is to kick their spectral asses while helping them find peace. It's basically a mix of combat, exploration, and emotional gut punches. The combat is pretty deep. At first you're just whacking enemies with your staff, but soon you'll unlock a bow, which feels super satisfying to use. You'll be firing off spirit arrows, parrying attacks, and using your adorable rot companions, basically tiny black fluff balls with big eyes, to distract and weaken enemies. And man, these little guys aren't just cute, they're crucial for solving puzzles and wrecking bosses. And the bosses? No joke, for such a bright, colorful game, Kenna surprisingly throws some tough fights at you. You'll need to time your dodges, land precise parries, and strategically use your rot abilities. Some of the late game bosses will smack you around if you're not paying attention. It's challenging but fair, which makes every victory feel super satisfying. But where Kena really shines is its world and atmosphere. The forest environments are absolutely gorgeous, like Studio Ghibli level breathtaking. You'll be wandering through mystical woods, climbing ancient ruins, and exploring colorful villages. The lighting, particle effects, and fluid animations make the whole thing feel alive, like you're playing through an interactive animated movie. And then you've got the story, which is surprisingly emotional. You're helping spirits find peace, but their backstories hit hard. Some of them are tragic, bittersweet, and beautifully told through flashbacks and environmental details. You'll get attached to the characters, even the ones who only show up for a short time. It's the kind of game that sneaks up on you with its emotional moment. The rock companions deserve a whole section of their own. These adorable little creatures follow you around and they're constantly doing cute stuff, sitting on Kenna's head, playing with flowers, or hopping into tiny hats you can find. And yes, you can customize their look with hats, because why not? They're both adorable and useful, helping you move objects, solve puzzles, and enhance your combat abilities. The Ascent. The Ascent is a top-down cyberpunk RPG where you run, gun, and wreck everything in sight. You play as an indent, basically a corporate slave for some greedy megacorp, but when the company suddenly goes bankrupt, the whole city turns into a war zone. Now you're stuck in the chaos, fighting through gangs, killer robots, and corrupt factions just to stay alive. The combat is, well, again, fast and brutal. You're constantly blasting through waves of enemies with big-ass guns, machine guns, flamethrowers, rocket launchers, you name it. You can take cover, but most of the time you're better off charging in and unloading everything. The screen gets packed with explosions and it just feels badass. Plus, you get augments like deploying combat drones, hacking enemy turrets, or slowing down time, which makes the fights feel chaotic and fun. The RPG stuff is solid too. You'll level up, unlock skills, and customize your build. Want to beef up your health and tank everything? Go for it. Want to boost speed and dodge around like a maniac? You can do that too. The gear system is addictive. You're always finding new weapons and armor, and tweaking your loadout is half the fun. But bro, the world is insane. It's pure cyberpunk eye candy. The city is packed with neon lights, massive holograms, and crowded streets full of NPCs just doing their thing. You'll be walking past street vendors, through seedy clubs, or into shady back alley labs. It's so detailed and alive, you'll probably spend half your time just wandering around, taking in the vibe. Sifu. Sifu is a brutal, no-nonsense beat-em-up where you play as a martial artist out for revenge. Your family gets murdered by a crew of assassins, and now you're hunting them down one by one. But here's the kicker. Every time you die, you age. So you start off young and fast, but the older you get, the slower but stronger you become. It's a brilliant risk-reward system that makes every fight feel intense as hell. The combat is straight up insane. You're ducking, weaving, and countering like a kung fu badass. The hits feel meaty, the animations are slick, and when you pull off a perfect parry into a finisher, it's just chef's kiss satisfying. You can throw enemies into walls, smash their faces into tables, and use random objects as weapons. It's fluid, fast, and honestly, it makes most action games look clunky in comparison. But the game doesn't hold back. It'll wreck you over and over until you get good. You'll die a lot at first, and seeing your character age right before your eyes is friggin' brutal. 1 minute you're a spry 20-something, and after a few rough fights, you're an old man with a wicked beard throwing haymakers like your life depends on it. Because it freaking does! the levels are pure eye candy. You'll brawl through neon-lit nightclubs, fight in rain-soaked back alleys, and throw down in trippy dreamscapes where the environment warps around you. It's got bold colors, slick camera angles, and stylistic flair that makes every fight feel like a scene out of a martial arts flick. And look, replaying levels feels rewarding. You'll get your ass handed to you at first, but as you master the mechanics, you'll start flying through fights, barely aging at all. It's super satisfying when you finally beat a boss without losing a decade off your life.
But for that, I shall need a good horse.
Plague Tale games. These games don't get talked about enough, and they absolutely should. So first off, yeah, they're AA games, not some giant open world collectathon or 200-hour RPG thing. Just two super focused, story-driven games that actually respect your time and your emotions. Like, they hit hard. If you like games with actual heart, you're in for it with these. The whole setup is kind of medieval France during the Black Plague, and you're playing as this girl, Amicia, who's trying to protect her little brother, Hugo. Which sounds simple, but like, it gets real dark real fast. Hugo's got this mysterious illness or curse or whatever, and rats, like thousands and thousands of rats, are just a whole thing, not just gross little background creatures either. Nah, these rats are like straight up rivers of death. And the game does this awesome job of making them feel terrifying without making the whole thing feel like a horror game. It's more like emotional stealth survival. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it works. And bro, the bond between Amicia and Hugo, easily one of the best sibling dynamics I've seen in a game. It's not all happy-go-lucky either. There's tension, there's breakdowns, it's messy, it feels real. Like, yeah, she loves her brother, but also sometimes she wants to scream into a pillow, and I totally get it. Now, Requiem, the second one, it takes everything from the first game and just amplifies it. Bigger set pieces, more action, better visuals, and dude, the game is gorgeous, especially for a non-AAA title, and the story, oh man, it goes places. You think it's just gonna be more rats and sadness, and yeah, it is, but it also gets weird in a cool way, like more fantasy stuff starts creeping in, and it just works. So yeah, if you're into games like The Last of Us, you know, where it's less about the gameplay and more about the characters and the story and just feeling stuff, then A Plague Tale is kind of perfect. It's beautiful, it's sad, it's tense, it's got rats, and somehow it all comes together in this really unique, emotional, underrated little package. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Okay, so Clair Obscur Expedition 33, man, this game really sneaks up on you. At first glance, you might think it's just another turn-based RPG, but nah, it's got this cool mix of old school and modern that actually makes it stand out. The story takes place in this kind of spooky version of old France, like the Belle Epoque era, but with a dark twist. Every year, this creepy figure called the Paintress paints a number in the sky, and anyone who hits that age just disappears, like gone without a trace. Pretty messed up, right? So a group of folks called Expedition 33 step up and say, we're not going down without a fight, and set out to hunt this Paintress down before she can claim more lives. You're not playing just one character here, you get a team of 4 with different skills and personalities. Gustav is your go-to engineer, Mayeye is the fiery fighter, Loon is the brainy scholar, and Ciel's the tough warrior type. Switching between them keeps the gameplay fresh because each one brings something different to the table. Now, the combat's where it gets interesting. Yeah, it's turn-based, so you're picking moves and planning your attacks like a classic strategy game, but it's not just a boring menu-click fest. When the enemies attack, you're actually jumping, dodging, or parrying in real time. Nail a perfect parry, and boom! You get extra points to use your special abilities sooner. So it's this fun back and forth between thinking ahead and reacting on the fly. It's not super crazy or frantic, but it definitely keeps you paying attention. Visually, the game is super atmospheric. I mean, for a AA game made by only like literally 30 people, it looks really good. Think foggy streets lit by old gas lamps, rundown mansions covered in creeping vines, and these surreal, almost painterly environments that make you feel like you're inside a dark fairy tale. The art style alone makes you want to stop and look around. It's one of those games that knows how to set a mood without shoving it in your face. And the story? It's tight, no filler quests or weird side stuff that drags things down. It's all about pushing forward, uncovering secrets, and getting closer to the Paintress. The writing hits some emotional notes too. You're invested in these characters, their struggles, and the world falling apart around them. There's some real weight behind what you're doing. So yeah, if you're into strategy games but hate when they get slow or grindy, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is worth checking out. It's smart, it's got style, and it throws in enough real-time action to keep things exciting. Plus, the story and setting are super unique. It's like a dark, moody mystery wrapped in a tactical RPG. Definitely give it a shot if you want something that's both challenging and emotional without feeling like a slog.
Would hang in the balance.
Lost in Random. You play as Even, a brave young girl living in the strange kingdom of random, where everything is decided by rolling dice. Yup, dice rule the whole world, your fate, the weather, even how people act. It's a pretty wild setup. Even's got a super cool sidekick named Dicey, who's not just a regular die, he's alive, full of personality, and totally helps you out in fights and puzzles. Their friendship is the heart of the game, and watching them team up is actually really sweet. The gameplay is where Lost in Random really shines. It's a mix of action and strategy, which means it's not just button mashing. When you fight, you use Dicey to roll different combinations that unlock special moves and attacks. The dice rolls can totally change the way your fights go, so you gotta think on your feet and come up with smart combos. It makes the battles feel fresh and exciting every time, because you're always experimenting with what works best. The world of Random is like nothing you've seen before. It's full of weird, spooky, and sometimes funny characters and places. The art style is super unique, with a hand-drawn look that feels like a creepy storybook or a Tim Burton movie come to life. The colors, the shadows, and the design all add up to this eerie but charming vibe. Plus, the music is perfect. A little mysterious, a little playful, and totally fitting the mood. The story is about way more than just dice and fighting. It's about fate, chance, and standing up when the odds feel stacked against you. Even's journey is full of surprises and weird twists, and you meet all kinds of strange folks who either help or try to stop you. It's a story about hope, friendship, and fighting back when everything seems random and unfair. What I really like is how Lost in Random blends its story and gameplay so well. You feel connected to the world and the characters, and the dice mechanics add this cool twist that makes the battles more than just hit and shoot. The game isn't super hard, but it makes you think and adapt, which is a nice change of pace. So yeah, if you want a game that's like stepping into a creepy but beautiful fairy tale with fun battles that keep you guessing and a story that makes you care, Lost in Random is definitely worth your time. It's quirky, it's clever, and it's got a heart under all that weirdness that really sticks with you. Give it a shot, you might just fall in love with the randomness.
Feeling the ground tilt beneath her.
Control. This game is a total mind-bender, and it's one of those experiences that just sticks with you long after you stop playing. You play as Jesse Faden, who shows up at this super weird place called the Federal Bureau of Control, or just the FBC. It's this secret government building where strange paranormal stuff happens all the time. The whole building is kind of alive, constantly shifting and changing, and it's packed with weird objects and powers. Jesse's there searching for answers about her past, but she quickly gets caught up in this big mystery involving a shadowy force called the Hiss that's taken over the building. What really hooked me was the atmosphere. The game nails this creepy, mysterious vibe that feels like you're inside a sci-fi horror movie. The lighting, the design of the building, it's all super stylish and unsettling. You never quite know what's around the corner, and that keeps you on edge in the best way. The gameplay is a mix of third-person shooting and supernatural powers. Jessie can throw stuff like chairs and desks at enemies, which is ridiculously fun. Plus she gets these awesome abilities like levitating, dodging midair, and creating shields. The combat feels really smooth and creative because you can mix shooting with powers in all kinds of ways. It never gets boring. And also the story is deep, but told in a way that's intriguing without being overwhelming. You find documents, recordings, and secrets that slowly reveal what's really going on with the FBC and Jesse's connection to it all. It's mysterious and kind of spooky, but also emotional in parts. One thing I really liked is how the game encourages exploration. The building, called the Oldest House, is this weird shifting maze that changes as you play. Finding hidden rooms and upgrades feels rewarding, and there's always something new to discover. Plus, the level design makes the place feel alive and unpredictable.
Lieutenant said the main entrance to the team.
RoboCop Rogue City. This game really feels like stepping into the heavy boots of the original RoboCop movie. You know that feeling when you want to be this unstoppable half-man, half-robot badass who's slow but packs a punch? That's exactly what this game nails. It's not about speed or fancy moves, it's about feeling like a legit mechanical tank stomping through a messed up Detroit. Right off the bat, the city feels gritty and alive, like you're walking through a place where crime and corruption run wild. You're not just shooting up random bad guys, you're diving deep into a story full of shady corporate deals and dirty cops. It's got that classic RoboCop vibe, where you're trying to bring justice, but man, it's not simple. Sometimes you gotta play by the rules, sometimes you gotta break them. The best part? The way the game makes you feel like RoboCop. Your movements are heavy, your gunshots hit hard, and every time you bust through a door or take down a bad guy, it feels powerful, not just pew-pew like other shooters. It's like the game knows RoboCop isn't a nimble ninja. He's a relentless machine that forces fear into the streets. Plus, there's a cool layer of choice here. You can follow orders and be the perfect law enforcer, or go rogue and make your own justice. It's a neat little twist that makes the whole experience more than just a shoot-up. You gotta think sometimes, how far are you willing to go to clean up this mess? Bottom line, if you want a game that's all about heavy, slow but deadly action and a story with grit, RoboCop Rogue City is a solid pick. It's got that old school tough guy energy, but with modern graphics and some cool storytelling. Definitely worth it if you want to live out the fantasy of being a robotic law enforcer who can't be stopped. Still Wakes the Deep. So Still Wakes the Deep is one of those games where you kind of know right away if it's your thing. It's slow, creepy, story-driven, not a shoot-everything kind of game, more like walk around, survive, and hope whatever's out there doesn't find you. You're this dude working on an oil rig off the coast of Scotland in the 1970s. Real cold, real isolated, real depressing. Then something goes horribly wrong. And I don't mean like there's a fire wrong. I mean some nightmare thing just came out of nowhere and started wrecking everything kind of wrong. After that, the whole rig turns into a death trap. The cool part is that you're not some soldier or superhero or scientist, you're just a regular guy. An electrician, I think, trying to survive while everything around you falls apart. You've got no weapons, no real tools, just your legs and your brain. You climb, you crawl, you squeeze through tight spaces, and you try not to freak out every time you hear some horrible sound echoing through the dark. The game's really good at building tension, like nothing even needs to happen and you'll still feel on edge the whole time. The wind, the creaking metal, the water rushing in, it's all just super immersive. The rig itself feels like a character too. It's falling apart, flooding, catching fire. You never really feel safe, even for a second. And then there's whatever that thing is. They don't show it much, which somehow makes it even worse. You catch glimpses. Here, maybe someone starts changing into something and you're like, yeah, I'm out of here. It's that classic less is more horror, and it actually works. It's more about surviving than fighting, which makes every close call feel way more intense. It's also surprisingly emotional. Like, yeah, it's a horror game, but the main character, he's dealing with his own personal mess too. Family stuff, guilt, past mistakes, all that. So while you're crawling through vents trying not to die, the game's also making you think about what this guy's been through. If you liked games like Soma, Amnesia, or Firewatch, but with nightmares, this will probably hook you. It's not long, not full of puzzles or action, just a focused, scary story in a really unique setting. And once you start it, it's hard to stop. You just want to see if this guy makes it out and what the hell that thing really is.
That was so...
Life is Strange. This game kind of blew up when it came out, and honestly it's easy to see why. You play as Max, a high school girl who finds out she can rewind time, like literally go back a few seconds or minutes and change what just happened. Sounds wild, right? But it's not just a gimmick, it's the whole heart of the game. What makes it really cool is how the game lets you mess up and then fix it by rewinding. So if you say something dumb or make a bad choice, you could rewind and try a different option. But here's the thing, even small choices start to build up and affect how the story goes. It's like you're actually shaping the game's world and the people in it, which feels really fresh compared to most games where you just follow a set path. The setting is this small town called Arcadia Bay. It's got that classic sleepy town vibe, high school halls, quiet streets, and weird little secrets hidden everywhere. You meet all kinds of characters, some super nice and some shady. The game does a great job of making you feel like these people are real. They have problems, dreams, and stuff going on. Plus, the writing is on point. It's funny sometimes, serious sometimes, and it really hits you in the feels at times. Gameplay-wise, it's pretty chill. You mostly walk around, talk to people, explore, and make decisions. There are some puzzles, but they're not tricky or annoying, just enough to keep things interesting. The main fun is in the story and the choices you make, not in crazy action or complicated mechanics. One thing I gotta shout out is the art style. The game looks like a moving watercolor painting or like a graphic novel. It's simple but really beautiful and sets this perfect kind of nostalgic mood. And don't even get me started on the music. The soundtrack is packed with indie songs that fit the vibe perfectly, mellow, emotional, and kind of haunting sometimes. It really pulls you into the world. Also, the time rewind mechanic isn't just a cool trick, it actually makes you think more about what you do. Like, should I save this person? Should I save this thing? It makes you question your choices because you know there's always a chance to try again, but not without consequences later. That tension keeps you hooked. Oh, and there's more than one game in the series too. The first one is the most famous, but the sequels and spin-offs keep that same vibe going. So if you get into it, there's plenty more to dive into. So yeah, if you're into story games where your choices matter, where you want to feel connected to the characters, and you like a chill pace, Life is Strange is a solid pick. It's different from your usual shooter or action game, and it's got this real heart to it that sticks with you long after you stop playing.
Don't ever touch me again, freak!
Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. The whole premise of this game is pure epic fantasy. It's set in the Pathfinder tabletop role-playing game universe, but you don't need to know anything about that to jump in. The story throws you into a huge dark fantasy war against a literal demon invasion. There's this massive, nasty rift in the world called the World Wound, which is basically a doorway to the abyss, the realm where all the demons live. You start out as just a regular person caught in the chaos, but quickly things escalate and you become the commander of the 5th Crusade against these demonic hordes. What makes your character special is that you gain mythic powers, which are these incredibly powerful abilities that let you become something truly legendary, like an angel, a demon, a lich, or even a trickster. And your choices about which mythic path you take totally change the story, who you ally with, and even how people react to you. It's a classic save the world from ultimate evil tale, but with a ton of freedom in how you go about it. When you're actually playing through this massive adventure, you're mostly leading a party of up to 6 characters. You can move them around in real time, or if you prefer, you can switch to turn-based combat whenever a fight starts. It's pretty deep with tons of spells, abilities, and tactical decisions to make in every battle. Because it's based on a tabletop game, a lot of what you do, like hitting an enemy or trying to pick a lock, is handled by dice rolls behind the scenes. So, sometimes luck plays a part, just like in a real tabletop game. Beyond the personal adventure of your main character and their companions, there's also a big strategic layer called Crusade Mode. Here, you actually lead entire armies on a world map, managing resources, recruiting units, and fighting large-scale turn-based battles against the demon forces. It's like a mini strategy game within the main RPG, where your successes in the Crusade directly affect the main story. You also get to make big decisions for the Crusade in council meetings, which really makes you feel like the leader of this huge effort.
Behold.
Enshrouded. The whole setup for this game is pretty cool and atmospheric. You find yourself in this huge, ruined fantasy world called Imbervale, which has been almost completely swallowed by a weird, magical fog or mist called the Shroud. This Shroud isn't just regular fog, it's super dangerous, filled with nasty monsters, and it drains your life if you stay in it too long. You play as a Flameborn, which means you're basically the last hope for humanity, a survivor who can actually stand against the Shroud. Your big goal is to survive, explore this broken world, uncover its secrets, and eventually figure out how to push back the Shroud and bring life back to Embervale. It's got this cool mix of desperation and hope, you know? As you start playing, you'll be doing a bunch of different things. A huge part of the game is exploring this big world, which has everything from lush forests to creepy, corrupted zones. You're always on the lookout for resources like wood, stone, and minerals, because crafting and building are super important. You can construct your own bases and shelters anywhere you want, which is pretty awesome. And it's not just simple huts. You can make some really impressive detailed structures using a cool voxel-based building system where you can literally carve into the terrain or build out block by block. Having a safe spot to escape the Shroud and store your gear is key. When you're out exploring, you'll definitely run into enemies, and that's where the action RPG combat comes in. You can fight using a mix of melee weapons like swords and axes, ranged weapons like bows, or even magic. It's got a system where you need to dodge enemy attacks and time your hits. As you gain experience, you'll unlock skills on a pretty big skill tree, letting you specialize in being a warrior, an archer, a mage, or even a mix of different styles. What's neat is that you can also glide around using a special ability, which makes moving through the world and getting around steep cliffs a lot faster and more fun. Oh, and you can play the whole game by yourself, or you can team up with up to 16 friends in co-op, building bases and exploring together, which can get pretty wild.
I don't know if I'd recognize you if I saw you.
The Thaumaturge. The whole premise for this game is super interesting because it's set in a real historical place and time, but with a cool, hidden, supernatural twist. You're dropped into Warsaw, Poland, back in the year 1905. This was a time when the city was under Russian control and things were pretty tense with lots of different cultures and politics clashing. You play as Viktor Zulski, who's a thaumaturge. Now, a thaumaturge isn't a magician in the usual sense. These folks can actually see and interact with these invisible spiritual beings called saladers. Think of saladers as kind of like personal demons that feed on people's inner flaws like pride or anger. Victor comes back to Warsaw after some personal trouble, and he quickly gets pulled into a huge mystery involving a powerful family and the shady underworld of the city. He's also trying to understand his own connection to these saladers and how to control them. It's a very unique blend of real history and secret magic. As you explore this gritty, living version of 1905 Warsaw, a big part of what you do is investigating and solving mysteries. Victor uses his thaumaturge powers to find hidden clues and sense people's deeper emotions, which helps him understand what really happened in different situations. You'll talk to tons of different characters, from regular folks to famous historical figures, and your choices and conversations can change how things play out. When fights happen, the game switches to turn-based combat. It's not just about hitting hard, it's about strategy. Victor and his saluters work together, taking turns attacking. Each saluter has different powers, and you have to pick the right one to target an enemy's weaknesses or mess with their mind. Victor himself can also influence the battle with his observations about the enemies, making them vulnerable. It's less about brute force and more about thinking a few steps ahead. The city of Warsaw itself is almost like another character in the game. It's beautifully brought to life, showing off its busy streets, dark alleys, and fancy neighborhoods. The game really makes you feel like you're walking through a specific moment in history, but with this weird hidden layer of magic underneath everything. The story is deep and often deals with complex themes like social class, politics, and what it means to control these inner demons.
Give you faith again.
Vampyr. You play as Dr. Jonathan Reed, a doctor who wakes up in London during the 1918 Spanish flu outbreak. But here's the catch. He's a vampire now. Yeah, a vampire who's also a doctor. So right away, you've got this crazy mix of trying to save people from the flu while also needing to feed on them to survive. It's kind of messed up, but super interesting at the same time. What really hits you is the way the game makes you think about your choices. Do you feed on people to get stronger, or do you try to save as many as possible? Every choice feels heavy because the people you meet are real characters with their own stories, families, and secrets. Killing someone might make your character stronger, but it also changes the world around you, and not always in a good way. The game has this dark, rainy London vibe that's perfect for a vampire story. The streets feel dangerous and the atmosphere is super moody. Plus, the voice acting and writing do a good job of pulling you into that world. It's like you're living in this gloomy city where every choice matters. Combat in Vampyr is pretty solid too. You've got a mix of melee weapons, guns, and vampire powers, so fights can get intense. But it's not just button mashing, you gotta plan your attacks and use your powers smartly to survive. What I really liked is how the game balances being a story-driven RPG with some action. You get to explore, talk to people, make friends or enemies, and level up your skills in ways that fit your playstyle. It's not super complicated, but it's got enough depth to keep things interesting. The whole doctor-turned-vampire thing also makes the story feel different from your usual vampire games. You're not just some monster running around, you got this whole moral struggle going on, and that makes every choice feel personal. So if you want a game with a dark story, tough choices, and some good combat, Vampyr is a cool pick. It's not perfect, but still, it's a really worthwhile experience. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is one of the most haunting and powerful games you'll ever play. It's dark, beautiful, and genuinely disturbing, but not in a cheap jump scare way. This is psychological horror done right, and by the end, you'll probably feel like you need to lie down for a bit. You play as Senua, a Celtic warrior, on a desperate quest to save the soul of her dead lover. But here's the thing, Senua is tormented by psychosis. She hears voices, sees hallucinations, and questions what's real. And the game doesn't just tell you this, it makes you experience it firsthand. You'll hear whispers in your ears, feel the paranoia closing in, and struggle with the constant dread of not knowing what's real. It's genuinely unsettling, but brilliantly immersive. The story itself is simple but incredibly emotional. Senua believes she can fight her way into Helheim, basically Viking hell, to rescue her lover's soul. But her journey is more personal. It's about facing grief, trauma, and mental illness.
Don't kill me.
As you play, you'll see glimpses of her past, the abuse she suffered, the loss she endured, and it makes her determination feel painfully human. But what makes Hellblade hit so hard is how it puts you in Senua's shoes. The voices in her head aren't just creepy background noise, they taunt you, confuse you, and sometimes even help you. One voice might warn you of an enemy attacking from behind, while another might mock you for being weak.
Shh.
It's constantly disorienting, making you second-guess everything, and when you're fighting for your life, those voices get louder and more frantic, making the tension absolutely nerve-wracking. The combat is brutal and raw, but it's deliberately simple. You're not some overpowered warrior, you're just Senua, fighting through her pain. The clashes feel slow and heavy, with every swing carrying weight. You'll dodge, block, and strike, but the real fight is the mental battle. The screen distorts when you're overwhelmed, and the voices scream louder, making you feel Senua's struggle with every step. Visually, Hellblade is stunning in the most unsettling way. The landscapes feel otherworldly with twisting, surreal environments that blur the line between reality and illusion. You'll walk through forests made of bones, stand on beaches of blood-soaked sand, and stare into endless haunting voids. The visual distortion effects and shifting environments make you constantly question what's real, which makes the whole experience feel like a fever dream. But the most powerful part of Hellblade is how raw and human it feels. The game doesn't glorify Senua's mental illness, it shows it with painful honesty. The developers worked with neuroscientists and people with psychosis to make the experience as authentic as possible, and it shows in every moment. It's not just a game, it's an emotional experience that puts you in the mind of someone battling inner demons.
Well, it's nice to meet you. And
The Forgotten City. The Forgotten City is one of those rare games that sneaks up on you. It starts off feeling like a simple mystery. You wake up in an ancient Roman city cursed by the gods. The twist, if even one person sins, everyone in the city is turned into gold. Your job is to figure out who's going to break the golden rule and stop them. The catch? You're stuck in a time loop, meaning every time the city falls, you restart the day with all your knowledge intact. At first it feels like a detective story, but the deeper you go, the more complex and morally twisted it becomes. You'll uncover dark secrets, philosophical debates, and staggering revelations that'll mess with your head. The writing is phenomenal. Every character feels flawed and believable with their own motives and struggles. Some are desperate, some are greedy, and some are just plain shady, making every interaction feel unpredictable. What makes the game so clever is how it rewards creativity. You can solve problems in multiple ways through persuasion, deception, or manipulation. And because of the time loop, you can get away with things you normally couldn't. Steal money? No problem, just reset the day and keep the cash. It makes you feel smart without ever feeling cheap. The city itself is hauntingly gorgeous. The golden statues, frozen in terrified poses, tell silent stories of suffering. The crumbling Roman architecture, paired with faint whispers of lost souls, creates an eerie, dreamlike atmosphere. It feels ancient, tragic, and surreal all at once. But the real brilliance of The Forgotten City is its philosophical depth. The game constantly challenges your morality, asking questions like, what is a sin? Or, do the ends justify the means? It doesn't spoon-feed you answers. Instead, it forces you to think for yourself, making every choice feel meaningful. And just when you think you have it all figured out, the game hits you with some wild twists that'll blow your mind. The final revelations are so shocking that you'll want to replay it just to catch all the clues you missed. Observer System Redux. Observer. System Redux is one of those games that just gets under your skin and stays there. It's creepy, weird, and unsettling, but in a way that makes you want to keep going, even when you're low-key freaked out. You play as Daniel Lazarski, a detective in a dystopian future where people can plug their minds into computers. But Daniel's not your average cop, he's an observer, meaning he can hack into people's memories and experience their thoughts and fears firsthand. Which sounds cool, right? Yeah, until you start seeing their nightmares. The story kicks off with Daniel getting a call from his estranged son, who seems to be in trouble. When Daniel tracks him down, he finds a dead body in a shady apartment building, and from there, everything goes straight to hell. The game isn't about solving a simple crime, it's about digging through broken minds and witnessing some seriously disturbing stuff. The mind-hacking sequences are where the game really shines and where it gets straight up messed up. You'll see people's darkest memories, but nothing makes sense. One moment you're walking through a glitchy hallway, and the next you're in a twisted, pixelated nightmare where the walls breathe and the furniture moves on its own. It's trippy as hell, and you'll constantly feel on edge, not knowing what's real or fake. The setting is straight up depressing, in a good way. The whole game takes place in a run-down apartment complex where everyone is either dead, missing, or paranoid. The hallways are dim and filthy, flickering lights barely work, and you'll constantly hear disturbing whispers and weird mechanical noises. It's claustrophobic as hell, making you feel stuck in this decaying cyberpunk hellhole. What's cool about Observer is how it balances detective work with horror. You'll investigate crime scenes, scan for blood, clues, and DNA, but then you'll jack into someone's mind and everything goes full-on psychological horror. And it's not just cheap jump scares, it's the slow, disturbing kind that messes with your head. Oh, and Rutger Hauer, the guy from Blade Runner, voices Daniel, which makes the whole experience even better. His gruff, tired voice makes Daniel feel like a man who's seen some real messed up stuff and just wants to get through one more case. The Redux version adds better visuals and extra content, making the already eerie atmosphere even more haunting. The lighting is darker, the environments look grimier, and the new side missions add more backstory and twisted lore. Overall, Observer system, Redux is like diving headfirst into a glitchy, fever dream version of Blade Runner. It's weird, unsettling, and genuinely disturbing, but it keeps you hooked. If you love creepy, mind-bending sci-fi with a dark detective vibe, this one's 100% worth your time.
Was removed post-mortem. It's possible the killer took it.
Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is one of those games that kind of flew under the radar when it first came out, but man, it deserves way more love. It's got a massive open world, fun combat, and tons of customization, making it stupidly addictive once you get into it. You play as the Fateless One, which is basically a fancy way of saying you're the only person in the world who isn't bound by fate. Everyone else, their lives are already written, but you're a wild card. You can rewrite fate itself, which makes you a huge threat to the evil forces trying to control the world. The plot isn't super groundbreaking, but it's still solid. There's war, magic, destiny, and plenty of cool fantasy twists. What really makes the game shine, though, is the combat. It's fast, flashy, and super satisfying. You've got tons of weapons and abilities, and you can mix and match classes however you want. You want to be a magic-wielding rogue? Go for it. A warrior who throws fireballs? No problem. The game doesn't lock you into one build, which makes experimenting fun as hell. Plus, pulling off huge combos and unleashing brutal finishers never gets old. The world is massive and beautifully designed with lush forests, glowing caves, and massive open plains. It feels like stepping into a fantasy novel with plenty of side quests, dungeons, and hidden treasures to find. And since every region has its own look and lore, exploring never feels boring. One of the best parts is how flexible the game lets you be. If you get bored of your build, you can literally reset all your skills and try something new. It makes the gameplay feel fresh even after hours of play, and trust me, you'll be here for a while. The game is stupidly huge with dozens of hours of quests, faction missions, and tons of gear to collect. Remnant 2. You ever play a game that just refuses to hold your hand? Yeah, that's Remnant 2. It drops you into its brutal, twisted world and basically says, figure it out or die trying. And you will die a lot, but the thing is, you'll keep coming back, because it's just that damn good. At its core, Remnant 2 is a third-person shooter, but it's got the soul of a hardcore RPG. You'll explore bizarre, randomly generated worlds, fight nightmarish creatures, and take on some of the most creative bosses you'll ever see. And the best part, every playthrough is different. The game remixes the layout, enemies, and even entire quest lines, making every run feel fresh, even if you've already beaten it. The randomization makes exploring a blast. You'll never know what's coming next. Sometimes you'll stumble into a mini dungeon with a crazy hidden boss. Other times you'll find a merchant with rare gear. The constant surprises keep the game wildly unpredictable. And man, the build variety is insane. You pick an archetype, which is basically your class, but later on you can dual class, creating some wild combos. Want to be a stealthy sniper with healing powers? Go for it. Or maybe a tank that summons minions? You can do that too. The freedom to mix and match abilities makes every build feel personal, and it's stupidly fun experimenting. The co-op is where it gets real spicy. Playing solo is tough, but running with friends turns it into pure chaos. Enemies scale with your team, so fights get more intense, but coordinating your builds makes it super rewarding. Plus, it's just way more fun laughing with your buddies when you all get absolutely destroyed by a giant mutant deer out of nowhere. Visually, Remnant 2 is gorgeous and freaky at the same time. The worlds feel alien and surreal, with twisted forests, crumbling ruins, and corrupted cities that all feel alive with detail. The lighting and particle effects make the environments pop, and the enemy designs are straight up nightmare fuel. Honestly, Remnant 2 is one of the best co-op shooters out there. It's challenging, unpredictable, and endlessly replayable. Whether you're fighting through it solo or with friends, you'll keep coming back for more because it's just that damn fun. Evil West. Evil West is just pure dumb fun. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's the kind of game where you're punching vampires so hard they explode, and honestly, that's all it needs to be. You play as Jesse Rentier, a cowboy vampire hunter with a massive electric gauntlet and a whole bunch of guns, going around wrecking anything with fangs. The story? Who cares? It's just an excuse to kill monsters in the Wild West, and that's good enough for me. Now, the combat, straight up awesome. You got pistols, shotguns, rifles, and even a flamethrower, but the real MVP is your gauntlet. You can electrocute enemies, juggle them in the air, and smash them into the ground like you're playing Devil May Cry. It's fast, brutal, and stupidly satisfying. Like, you can punch a vampire so hard, it flies into a spike trap, and trust me, that never gets old. The enemies are pretty cool too. You'll fight hordes of minions, huge brutes, and some wild-ass boss monsters. And they're not just brainless bullet sponges, they'll rush you, teleport, and spam area attacks, so you can't just button mash. You'll need to mix up your gunplay and melee to stay alive. The locations are sick. You'll be storming through grimy swamps, abandoned mines, and creepy vampire nests. The whole game looks like some dark, twisted Western movie, and it totally nails the vibe. The lighting and atmosphere make it feel gritty as hell, especially when you're fighting under blood-red skies. And yeah, the upgrade system is simple but fun. You unlock new skills and perks, making your combos even crazier. By the end, you'll be wrecking entire groups of enemies without breaking a sweat. Honestly, Evil West is just a good time, no fluff. It's the kind of game you boot up when you want to turn your brain off and wreck some monsters. If you're in the mood for big guns, bigger punches, and non-stop carnage, you'll have a blast with this one.
A basic universal concept.
The Surge 2. The Surge 2 is one of those games that doesn't give a damn about holding your hand. It just throws you into its brutal, futuristic world and basically says, good luck, sucker, and honestly, that's why it's so fun. You play as some random dude, or lady, who wakes up after a plane crash in Jericho City, which is now a complete war zone, overrun with killer robots, insane mercenaries, and people who've gone nuts thanks to a technovirus. The plot is fine, but let's be real, you're here for the combat, and man, the combat hits hard. It's Souls-like, so you'll dodge, parry, and die a lot, but the limb tagging system makes it way more strategic. You can lock onto specific body parts, like arms, legs, or even heads, and slice them clean off. Why? Because ripping off enemy limbs gives you new gear. You want that sick armored leg piece? Chop off their leg. Need a better weapon? Off with their arm. It's gruesome, creative, and stupidly fun. And the gear system is awesome. You'll collect tech scrap from enemies and use it to upgrade your armor, weapons, and implants. Implants act like mods, giving you stuff like health boosts, damage buffs, or even weird energy-based abilities. You can mix and match builds, making your character feel totally unique. The world design is top tier. Jericho City is gritty, broken, and chaotic with dense slums, dark alleyways, and creepy industrial zones. It's all interconnected with tons of shortcuts and hidden paths, making exploration super rewarding. And since the world changes as you progress, you'll keep finding new stuff, even in areas you've already cleared. The enemies are relentless. You'll fight killer robots, cyborgs, and mutated freaks that'll wreck you in seconds if you're not careful. But the boss fights? That's where it really shines. These guys are huge, fast, and deadly with wild attack patterns that'll keep you on edge, and beating them feels damn satisfying. Oh, and the combat customization is wild. You can mod your gear with elemental effects like electrifying your blades or making your punches burn with fire. So you're not just slicing through enemies, you're shocking, burning, and dismembering them in the most savage ways possible. Graphically, the Surge 2 looks great with detailed environments, slick animations, and some brutal finishing moves that never get old. And the sound design is on point. The crunch of metal limbs and the satisfying clunk of your exosuit punches make every fight feel gritty and brutal. Overall, the Surge 2 is a criminally underrated gem. It's got tough, rewarding combat, deep customization, and limb-chopping action that makes every fight feel intense. If you're into Souls-like games but want something with a sci-fi twist, this one will absolutely hook you. Shadow Warrior 2. Shadow Warrior 2 is just, again, pure fun. It's the kind of game where you're dual-wielding shotguns, slicing up demons with a freaking katana, and cracking dumb jokes the whole time. It's fast, messy, and glorious chaos. You play as Lo Wang, yeah, that's his actual name, a cocky, loud-mouthed mercenary who fights demons for a living. The story? Whatever, bro. Something about corporations, magic, and saving the world, but let's be real, you'll skip through half of it. You're here to wreck monsters and make a mess, not follow some deep plot. Now the combat, absolutely insane. You've got guns, swords, chainsaws, and even a flamethrower, and you can dual wield almost anything. That means pistol in one hand, grenade launcher in the other, because why not? The gunplay is super snappy and the melee combat brutal. You'll be dashing through groups of demons, slicing off limbs, and watching the blood spray everywhere. It's gory, over the top, and stupidly fun. The enemies are wild. You'll be fighting everything from demon ninjas to giant mutant freaks, and they come at you fast. You'll be bouncing around the map, slashing, shooting, and pulling off ridiculous combos, and somehow, it never gets old. The loot system makes it even better. It's basically Borderlands style with tons of random weapons and modifiers. You'll find guns with fire, electric, or ice damage, and you can upgrade them with perks like lifesteal or extra crit damage. It makes every weapon feel different, and you'll be constantly swapping loadouts just to see how ridiculous you can get. The world design is actually pretty cool. You'll be running through neon-lit cities, misty forests, and creepy demon temples. It's all colorful, stylish, and weirdly beautiful despite the blood and guts flying everywhere. At the end of the day, Shadow Warrior 2 is just pure video game fun. No filler, no fluff, just guns, swords, and non-stop demon-slaying action. If you want a game that lets you turn your brain off, dual-wield shotguns, and chop monsters in half for hours, this one's an easy way. The Ghostrunner. Ghostrunner is one of those games that kicks your ass right out of the gate, but in a good way. It's basically cyberpunk parkour with a katana, and it doesn't hold back. You'll be wall running, dashing, slicing dudes in half, and dying a lot, but somehow you'll love every second of it. You play as a cybernetic ninja called the Ghostrunner, creative I know, and your job is to scale this massive tower run by a tyrannical AI overlord named Mara. The world, dystopian as hell. Think Blade Runner meets Mirror's Edge, but with way more neon and blood. The gameplay is where it shines. It's fast, fluid, and brutally unforgiving. You've got one-hit kills, which sounds fun until you realize it applies to you too. One mistake, dead. But the checkpoints are instant, so you'll be back in the action within seconds, making it super addictive. And the movement is slick. You'll be wall running like a parkour pro, sliding under laser beams and dashing through the air to dodge bullets. The whole thing feels buttery smooth, and once you get in the zone, you'll be pulling off insane stunts without even thinking. The combat is all about precision. You got a katana, and well, that's pretty much it. But who needs more when you can slice through enemies in a single hit? You'll be zipping across rooms, cutting down cyborgs, and deflecting bullets mid-air. It's fast, flashy, and makes you feel like a total badass. And the abilities? Oh man, you can slow down time, mid-dash, throw shurikens, and even teleport through enemies, turning them into cyber slush. The game keeps adding new skills, making you faster, deadlier, and more ridiculous as you go. The level design is top tier too. You'll be scaling skyscrapers, running through neon-lit slums, and dodging lasers in high-tech labs. The cyberpunk aesthetic is gorgeous, with bright neon colors, reflections everywhere, and a killer synthwave soundtrack that makes every fight feel like a music video. And yeah, it's tough as nails. You'll die constantly, but the game never feels unfair. Every death is just you getting better, learning the rhythm, and becoming an unstoppable machine. It's the kind of game where you'll restart a section 20 times, but when you finally nail it in one flawless run, you'll feel like Neo in The Matrix. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance is one of the most realistic RPGs ever made, but don't expect dragons or magic here. Instead, you're thrown into 1403 Bohemia, where you'll be fighting, drinking, and probably getting your ass kicked by some random peasant because you forgot to sharpen your sword. It's brutal, slow, and weirdly addictive. You play as Henry, a blacksmith's son, whose life goes to hell when his village is raided and burned down by a bunch of Hungarian invaders. You somehow survive, but your family gets slaughtered, so what do? Swear revenge? Nope. You wake up half-naked in a monastery, broke and completely useless in a fight, and that's exactly what makes it brilliant. The game doesn't hold your hand. You're weak, clumsy, and can barely swing a sword at first. You'll miss half your hits, get tired after 2 swings, and probably get wrecked by some drunk dude with a stick. But that's the beauty of it. You actually have to learn everything, from combat techniques to reading and even alchemy. It's slow, but rewarding as hell. And the combat system? Oh boy. It's not your typical hack and slash. It's weighty, technical, and honestly, kinda clunky at first. You'll be blocking, feinting, and trying not to stab yourself, and once you get good at it, fights feel intense and authentic.
Jesus Christ! Damn!
You'll be swinging at just the right angle, blocking perfectly, and absolutely wrecking some bandit who dared to mess with you. But the realism doesn't stop there. You'll need to keep Henry fed, well-rested, and clean. Yep, if you wander into town covered in blood and filth, people will avoid you. And if you wear noble armor, guards will treat you with respect. Even your speech skills matter. Dress like a noble and people will take you seriously. Show up looking like a homeless knight and they'll laugh you out of the castle. The world itself is stunning. It's not massive, but it's dense and beautiful. You'll be riding through lush forests, tiny villages, and authentic medieval towns. The game nails the atmosphere. You'll hear villagers chatting, blacksmiths hammering, and the occasional drunken brawl. It feels alive. Oh, and the little details, insane. Your armor degrades, so you'll need to repair it. Your sword gets dull, so you'll have to sharpen it. And if you don't clean yourself, people will literally complain about your stench. It's one of the most immersive worlds ever made for everyone. It's slow, tough, and frustrating at times, but that's exactly why it's so special. It makes every battle feel earned, every coin you make feel valuable, and every victory feel personal. If you want an RPG where you actually have to think, this one's an absolute must play.
I knew that the brothers were far too proud to ever lay down their guns.
Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Call of Juarez Gunslinger is one of the most underrated FPS gems out there, and I'm not even kidding. It's got tight gunplay, a killer Wild West setting, and a storytelling twist that makes the whole thing way more fun than you'd expect. It's short, sweet, and straight up badass. You play as Silas Graves, a grizzled old bounty hunter who shows up at a saloon and starts spinning wild tales about famous outlaws he supposedly fought. The cool part? You play through his flashbacks, but the dude exaggerates everything. 1 second you're fighting off 50 bandits, and the next he's like, actually it was 100, and boom, the game spawns more enemies right in front of you. The way the narration messes with the gameplay is hilarious and brilliant. The gunplay is where it shines. You've got classic revolvers, shotguns, rifles, and even dual-wielding pistols, making you feel like Clint Eastwood on steroids. The shootouts are fast, messy, and satisfying as hell. You'll be popping headshots in slow-mo, blowing bandits off balconies, and pulling off insane combos. And yeah, the slow-motion bullet time, that was pretty freaking cool. Anyway, the levels are fun as hell too. You'll be chasing outlaws through forests, fighting your way across moving trains, and surviving dynamite-filled ambushes. It's all super cinematic with tons of action-packed set pieces, but the real star is the storytelling twist. Since Silas is a lying bastard, you'll see the environment change mid-level as he revises his tale. You'll be fighting a group of outlaws, and suddenly he goes, wait, did I mention the Apache Warriors? And bam! Apache Warriors spawn out of nowhere. It's funny, creative, and makes the game feel unpredictable. Visually, the game's got a stylized comic book look with bold outlines and bright colors, which gives it a unique flair. It's like a graphic novel come to life, making every shootout feel stylish.
Billy. And maybe discretion was the better part of valor.
The Sinking City. The Sinking City is one of those weird-ass games that sneaks up on you. At first, it seems like just another detective game, but the deeper you go, the more you realize you're slowly losing your mind and loving it. It's basically Sherlock Holmes meets H.P. Lovecraft, with creepy cosmic horror, bizarre mysteries, and plenty of disturbing moments. You play as Charles Reed, a private detective who shows up in Oakmont, a flooded, rotting town where everyone's either insane, mutated, or both. You're there to investigate the town's supernatural weirdness, but also figure out why you're having freaky visions, and trust me, things get messed up fast. The detective gameplay is actually solid. You'll be searching for clues, linking evidence, and piecing together theories. There's no handholding, either you actually have to think like a detective. No quest markers or magical compasses here, just your brain and a notebook. You'll be matching clues, consulting archives, and solving some genuinely clever mysteries. But then the horror kicks in. You'll be exploring flooded streets, diving into sunken ruins, and running into some truly disturbing creatures. The monsters are grotesque, with slimy, tentacle-covered designs that feel straight out of Lovecraft's nightmares. And the atmosphere, super creepy. The town feels claustrophobic, eerie, and completely messed up. What makes it stand out is the insanity system. The more you're exposed to the supernatural, the crazier you get. You'll start hallucinating, seeing freaky visions, and questioning what's real. There are moments where you literally can't tell if you're fighting a monster or just losing your mind. It's trippy as hell, and it works perfectly for the setting. The combat, not the best. It's clunky and basic, and you'll probably wish there was less of it, but honestly, the detective stuff and atmosphere make up for it. You'll still push through the janky shooting just to see what kind of madness comes next. The world design is top-notch though. Oakmont feels gloomy and oppressive with flooded streets, crumbling buildings, and murky canals. You'll be rowing through the waterlogged alleys, exploring abandoned mansions, and wading through chest-deep sewage, all while fighting off fish-faced cultists. It's gross, grimy, and weirdly beautiful in a haunting way. And the side quests? Some of the darkest and strangest you'll find. You'll help a woman find her missing husband, only to discover he mutated into a sea monster. Or you'll track down a thief, only to realize they were stealing cursed artifacts that drive people insane. It's weird, twisted, and perfectly fitting for the game's tone.
Beep, beep.
Deliver Us Mars. Deliver Us Mars is one of those slow burn, story driven, right in the feels, but it also makes you feel kind of small in the face of space's massive emptiness. It's part exploration, part puzzle solving, and part emotional gut punch, all wrapped up in a bleak sci-fi setting. You play as Kathy Johansson, an astronaut with some serious family baggage. Your mission? Travel to Mars to retrieve stolen colony ships that could save Earth, which is pretty much dying. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. Turns out your father is part of the group that stole the ships, making the whole thing super personal. So now you're not just saving humanity, you're chasing family ghosts too. The gameplay is slow and deliberate. You'll be exploring desolate Martian landscapes, climbing rocky cliffs, and solving puzzles. It's got that classic walking sim vibe, but with a bit more interactivity. The puzzles are clever, but not too hard, usually involving lasers, power routing, and manipulating objects. It's the kind of game where you'll stare at a console for 5 minutes, then feel like a genius when you figure it out. And the climbing mechanics, honestly, surprisingly good. You'll be using your pickaxes to scale cliffs, and it actually feels weighty and realistic. The terrain is rough, and slipping up means restarting a section. It gives the platforming parts some tension, which makes the traversal feel meaningful rather than just filler. But the real star here is the story. It's emotional, bittersweet, and really well written. Kathy's personal journey dealing with her father's betrayal, her own conflicted feelings, and the burden of saving humanity gives the game emotional weight. It's not just about exploring Mars, it's about exploring guilt, loss, and hope. Visually, the game nails the atmosphere. Mars feels barren, harsh, and lonely. The red desert stretch endlessly, and the faint dust storms in the distance make you feel insignificant. The abandoned colony ships are haunting, filled with echoes of the past, giving the whole thing a ghost town vibe. Now, it's not perfect, the facial animations can be kinda rough and some of the movement feels janky, but the strong narrative and atmosphere totally carry the experience. At the end of the day, Deliver Us Mars is one of those rare games that sticks with you long after you finish it. It's not action-packed, but it's thoughtful, emotional, and beautifully haunting. If you're into slow-paced, story-driven sci-fi with gorgeous exploration and a heavy dose of feels, this one's a must-play. The Darkwood. Darkwood is one of the creepiest, most unsettling survival horror games you'll ever play, and it doesn't even need jump scares to mess with you. Instead, it slowly gets under your skin with pure dread and paranoia, making you feel like you're losing your mind right alongside your character. You play as some random dude, no fancy hero name here, stranded in a mysterious, twisted forest. The woods are spreading like a disease, swallowing villages and turning people into horrifying freaks. Your goal? get out. But good luck with that, because the forest doesn't want you to leave. The gameplay is all about survival. During the day, you'll be exploring the forest, gathering supplies and crafting weapons and barricades. But once night falls, oh man, you're in for it. You'll be holed up in a tiny shack, barricading windows and clutching your rusty plank with nails, hoping you can fend off whatever's scratching at the door. And here's the thing, you can't even see properly. The game uses a cone of vision mechanic, which means you can only see what your character is facing, leaving you constantly paranoid about what's creeping behind you. You'll hear whispers, footsteps, and things moving in the darkness, but you won't know what's real and what's in your head. The combat? Clunky and stressful, but that's the point. You'll be swinging makeshift weapons and shooting rusty pistols, but every hit feels slow and desperate, and ammo is super rare, so you'll constantly be on edge, knowing you can't just blast your way out of trouble. The atmosphere is insanely effective. The forest feels alive, but in the worst way possible. The trees seem to watch you, the ground oozes with corruption, and everything feels wrong. You'll find disturbing little villages, abandoned homes, and weird NPCs who are either insane, infected, or both. And the story? It's cryptic and unsettling, told through vague journal entries, cryptic dialogue, and environmental clues. You'll piece together the mystery of the forest, but honestly, the less you know, the scarier it gets. The vague, dreamlike storytelling makes you feel like you're trapped in a nightmare you can't wake up from. Oh, and let's talk about the random events. You'll be hiding in your shack, and suddenly, a doll appears out of nowhere. Or you'll hear a child crying, but there's no one there. The game constantly messes with you, making you question what's real and what's just your sanity slipping away. The Signalis. This is survival horror boiled down to its raw, brutal form, but with a sci-fi twist that makes it feel fresh and disturbing as hell. It's weird, vague, and constantly messing with your head, which is exactly why it slaps so hard. You play as Elster, an android pilot who wakes up on a frozen hellhole of a planet after crash landing her ship. She's looking for her missing partner, but instead, she stumbles into an absolute nightmare. The place is crawling with corrupted androids, which are basically half-dead, glitching freaks with metal limbs and twitchy movements. It's sci-fi horror at its finest, bro. The gameplay? Classic survival horror, no BS. You'll be creeping through dimly lit corridors, solving puzzles, and managing your tiny-ass inventory like your life depends on it. Because it does. You get 6 item slots, which means you're constantly making tough calls. Do you bring more ammo or a health pack, key item, or a flare? It's stressful in the best way possible. But the real star here is the atmosphere, which is pure nightmare fuel. The pixelated visuals give it this retro PS1 vibe, but don't let that fool you, it's creepy as hell. The grainy filters, glitch effects, and claustrophobic level design make you feel trapped and uneasy the entire time, and the sound design? Bro, it's haunting. You'll hear distant clanking, faint whispers, and static bursts that make you constantly second guess what's around the corner. The story is, well, it's kind of confusing as hell. It's fragmented and dreamlike, mixing sci-fi horror with psychological dread. You'll find cryptic logs, disturbing notes, and weird flashbacks, but it never fully explains itself, and that's the genius of it. You're left with more questions than answers, which makes everything feel even more unsettling. In the world itself, just pure nightmare fuel. One minute you're in a rusty colony bunker, and the next you're walking through some surreal, broken reality with floating architecture and twisted visuals. It's trippy and disorienting, but it works so damn well.